The first time it happened, I thought I was dreaming. It was a Sunday morning, just past 7 a.m. The house was still cloaked in that soft, golden quiet that only exists before the world really wakes up. I was half asleep, wrapped in the warmth of Mia's body beside me, when I heard the front door open. Click. Thud. Footsteps. Not heavy. Not urgent. But confident, like someone who belonged. I sat up instantly. Mia, I whispered. Did you hear that? She stirred, bleary-eyed. I threw off the covers and padded down the hall, heart thudding in my chest. I was halfway to the stairs when I heard a familiar voice floating up from the kitchen. Oh, he left the dishes in the sink again, her mother said, disapproving as ever. And look at this counter. What on earth? I muttered. When I turned the corner, there they were. Mia's parents. Stan and Lorraine Monroe. Standing in my kitchen, rummaging through drawers, rearranging spice jars like they were tidying up their own pantry. Her mother was already elbows deep in soap suds, scrubbing a plate that I'd left from the night before. Her father, in khakis and a crisp tucked-in polo, held my mail in his hands, flipping through it casually. I blinked. They looked up and smiled as if this was just any other morning. Oh, Daniel, good morning, Lorraine chirped. We let ourselves in. Mia said it was fine. Fine? I echoed. What do you mean? How did you get in? She raised a shiny silver key. Mia gave us a copy. It's easier this way. You know, in case of emergencies. My jaw clenched. This wasn't an emergency. Lorraine laughed lightly. Of course not, dear. But we figured we'd drop by early and help organize a bit. You've both been so busy lately. Busy? Sure. But not so busy that we needed unscheduled drop-ins at sunrise. I didn't say anything more in that moment. I was too stunned. But the second they left, I turned to Mia, who was pouring coffee like nothing had happened. You gave them a key? I asked. She blinked, startled. Yeah. A few weeks ago. I thought I told you. No, I said firmly. You didn't. She gave a small shrug. I figured it would be useful. What if something happened while we were out of town? What if we needed someone to check in? I stared at her. Then we call them. Like normal people do. She frowned. Daniel, they're just trying to help. You know how they are. Oh, I knew exactly how they were. It wasn't just the key. It was the permission. And over the next few weeks, the visits became more frequent. Sometimes they brought groceries. Sometimes Lorraine dropped off homemade soup or returned a borrowed casserole dish, always with comments about how the house smelled stale, or how she fixed the crooked curtain rod. Once I came downstairs from a Zoom call and found Stan in my garage, rearranging my tools, labeling my bins. He even installed a wall-mounted holder for the garden hose without asking. Just doing you a favor, he said with a wink. Every time I brought it up with Mia, she waved it off. They mean well, she insisted. It's not a big deal. But it was a big deal. Because this wasn't just about boundaries. It was about control. About space. About the slow erosion of my say in my own home. And the worst part? Mia was slipping further and further away from seeing it. The second time it happened, I was in nothing but a towel. I had just stepped out of the shower, steam still curling off the bathroom mirror, when I heard voices. Again. In our hallway. I froze. Not voices from the TV. Not a podcast Mia might have started while folding laundry. No, real voices. Familiar voices. Her parents. And I told her, if she really wants those cabinets to last, she needs to stop slamming them. Lorraine. I tightened the towel around my waist and yanked the bathroom door open. Sure enough, there she was. In our upstairs hallway. With a basket full of folded towels. My towels. She didn't even flinch. Oh. Morning, Daniel. I figured I'd drop off the fresh linen. I washed them with lavender, just how Mia likes it. I could barely breathe. You're upstairs. She tilted her head. Well, yes. I wanted to check the linen closet. The shelves were a mess last time. I stared at her. This is our bedroom level, Lorraine. She blinked, confused. We've seen it before. I was speechless. Mia appeared seconds later, drawn by the sound. What's going on? I turned to her, towel still clutched at my hip. Your mother is upstairs. In our hallway. Unannounced. Mia hesitated. Mom, maybe just knock first, okay? Lorraine laughed. Oh, for heaven's sake, I'm family. You act like I'm a stranger breaking in. That was the exact moment the knot in my chest tightened into something hard and unmovable. Later that night, I tried to talk to Mia seriously. We sat on the patio, a string of lights glowing overhead, the children long since asleep. I stared at the fading bubbles in my beer. Mia, I said, I can't do this anymore. She looked up from her wine glass. Do what? This thing with your parents. Them coming and going. No warning. No knocking. No boundaries. Her shoulders tensed. We've talked about this. No, I said quietly. I've talked. You've brushed it off. Mia sighed, setting her glass down. They're not trying to control us. They're just involved. I looked at her sharply. Involved is calling before you visit. Involved is asking before you touch someone else's belongings. Your dad installed a new lock on the garage door last week, without telling me. He told me, she said softly. And you didn't think to tell me? Silence. Mia, I love you. I love your family. But this house? This is supposed to be ours. And right now it feels like I'm renting space from your parents. Her eyes shimmered. I don't know how to say no to them. They've always been this way. Then it's time you start. She looked down, twisting her wedding ring. It's not that easy. But it's necessary, I replied. The next few days, the air between us was stiff. Awkward. Careful. We moved around each other like diplomats after a summit gone bad. And then, Thursday evening, I came home from work and stopped cold at the sight of the front door wide open. My heart skipped. I stepped inside, and there, in the middle of our living room, was Stan. Installing a ceiling fan. Tools everywhere. Dust on the couch. Our toddler's toys shoved into a corner. Hey there, Daniel, he called cheerfully. Got the new fan you ordered. Figured I'd get a head start before the weekend. I clenched my jaw. I didn't order a fan. He frowned. Mia said you mentioned wanting one. I mentioned it. In passing. On Sunday. Well, you'll love this one. It's top-rated. Quiet motor. I didn't respond. I turned and walked straight upstairs. Mia was in the bedroom folding laundry. I shut the door behind me. No more, I said. She didn't look up. I didn't know he was coming today. You still gave him the permission to do this. You think that makes it okay? She finally looked at me. He was trying to help. Help, I repeated. You think this is helping? Because it feels like I'm living in someone else's house. And every day, a little more of my voice disappears. Mia's voice cracked. So what do you want me to do, Daniel? Cut them off? Change the locks? Start a war? No, I said firmly. I want you to choose us. That night, I slept on the couch. Not out of anger, but because I needed distance to think. I stared at the ceiling for hours, wondering when exactly our home had stopped being a sanctuary. When it had started feeling like a shared space between two families on opposite sides of a locked door, except only one of those families had the key. Something had to change. And it had to start now. A week passed. A week of too many polite smiles, too many fake good mornings, and the eerie silence that settles when two people avoid what they both know can't be ignored. Mia and I moved around each other like ghosts sharing a house, pretending the air wasn't thick with everything left unsaid. On Tuesday, I came home early from work, surprise half-day, and found Lorraine in our master bathroom. Cleaning. Not just wiping down counters or putting away towels. She was deep cleaning our medicine cabinet. Bottles spread out on the counter. Toothbrushes moved. My shaving razor sitting on top of a folded washcloth like it had been evaluated. I stepped into the doorway and didn't say a word. She looked up. "Oh, Daniel." Not even startled. Not even apologetic. "I was just reorganizing in here. Mia always complains you don't put the vitamins back where they belong." I stared at her, heart pounding. Something inside me cracked, quietly. Not an explosion. A snap. "This isn't your space, Lorraine." She blinked. "Excuse me? This is our bedroom. Our bathroom. Our life. You don't belong in here." She straightened up, her mouth flattening. "Well, that's a bit rude." I didn't move. "It's not rude. It's necessary." For a moment, we just stood there, two people silently deciding if this was going to become a fight. She set the bottle of Tylenol down, gathered her things, and walked past me without another word. That night, I told Mia I'd changed the locks. She froze, halfway through setting the dinner table. "What?" she whispered. "I changed them. Today." Her eyes darkened. "You changed the locks to our house, without telling me?" I didn't flinch. "Yes. Because you gave out copies without telling me. That made it not our house anymore." Her voice rose. "So what, you just want to shut them out completely?" "I want control back. I want peace. I want a home where I don't walk into my bathroom and find your mother handling my medication like she lives here." She was trying to help. "No, Mia." She was asserting control. "You let her." She stood there, breathing hard, her knuckles white on the table edge. "You went behind my back. And you've been walking over me for months." That landed. Her face crumpled, just a bit. Silence. "I didn't mean for it to get this bad," she said quietly. "I thought I was keeping everyone happy. I softened, just a little. But you weren't keeping us safe. You gave them keys to our life, Mia. And they used them. Without knocking. Without asking. Without care." Tears filled her eyes. "What do you want me to do?" "Tell them," I said. "Tell them it's not okay. Tell them they don't get to come and go anymore. No more unscheduled drop-ins. No more cleaning. No more surprise installations or grocery rearrangements." Her voice cracked. "You're asking me to choose." I shook my head. "No. I'm asking you to protect." It took 3 days. 3 days of Mia barely speaking to me, retreating into long walks and late-night phone calls with no sound but the hum of her voice behind closed doors. Then, one Saturday morning, she came into the living room, eyes swollen, hair pulled back in a loose bun. She sat beside me, knees brushing. "I told them," she said. My heart skipped. "Told them what?" "That they're not allowed to come in anymore without calling. That the key is gone. That if they want to visit, they need to ask. And wait. And respect." I stared at her. "What did they say?" She looked down. "They were furious. Mom said I've changed. Dad said you've poisoned me. And?" She swallowed. "I said maybe I have changed. Because I'm not a daughter who belongs to them anymore. I'm a wife. A mother. And this is our home." A long silence settled between us. Then I reached for her hand. She gripped it like a lifeline. "I'm sorry it took so long," she whispered. "I'm just glad it wasn't too late," I said. That afternoon, we had a locksmith come again, this time, together. I handed Mia the new keys. She slipped one into her pocket and gave me the rest. "Just us," she said. I nodded. And for the first time in months, the house felt quiet in the way it was supposed to, like safety. Like love. Like ours. 2 days after we changed the locks together, Mia's phone started lighting up like a fire alarm. Missed calls. Voicemails. Messages from her parents, from cousins, even from her aunt in Florida who hadn't spoken to us in 2 years. The family chat thread exploded with accusations dressed as concern. You're abandoning your family. So now Daniel controls who's allowed in your life? Your mother is heartbroken. She was only trying to help. Mia stared at the screen, fingers trembling. I reached for her hand, but she pulled it away. I didn't think they'd go this far, she said softly. They're panicking, I said. They lost control, so they're trying to guilt you back into giving it up. She turned to me, eyes sharp. Don't talk about them like they're villains. I'm not, I replied, calm but firm. But they're not victims either. She paced the living room, her bare feet padding across the hardwood. You don't understand what it's like. My mom raised me almost alone for most of my life. My dad wasn't really around until later. She was in everything. My homework, my college apps, even my wardrobe. Saying no to her is like unlearning my whole identity. I nodded. That's exactly what you need to do. She froze. Mia, I said gently, they don't see you as your own person. They see you as theirs. And when you chose us, you threatened that illusion. She collapsed onto the couch beside me. I hate that they made me feel like I betrayed them for choosing you. I looked at her, searching for the words that wouldn't feel like an attack. You didn't betray them. You grew up. You chose a partner. A life. A boundary. We sat there in silence, her head resting on my shoulder, the sounds of the house wrapping around us like a quiet promise. No footsteps on the stairs. No surprise voices in the hallway. Just us. But peace never lasts when pride is wounded. 3 days later, Lorraine showed up anyway. She rang the bell. I stood frozen in the kitchen, Ravi perched on my hip, juice dripping down his chin. Mia appeared from upstairs, her hair still damp from the shower. The doorbell rang again. And again. Mia stepped forward. Let me. I watched her open the door with a slow, deliberate motion. Lorraine stood on the porch, arms crossed, a dish of lasagna balanced in one hand like a shield. Mia, she said. I thought I raised you better than this. Mia stood silent, blocking the doorway. I carried you for 9 months, Lorraine said, voice tight. I held your head through every fever, fought your school for every grade you earned. And now you change the locks on me? Mia's lip trembled. But she didn't move. You chose him over us. I chose me, Mia said finally. And that included him. Lorraine's mouth opened, then closed again. Mia exhaled. I love you, Mom. But you were smothering me. Smothering us. She took the lasagna gently. You're welcome to visit. But you knock. You wait to be invited. You don't just walk in anymore. And then she stepped back and closed the door. Just like that. She turned to me, breathing hard, tears threatening to fall, but not out of guilt. This time, it was release. Relief. I set Ravi down and wrapped my arms around her. You did it, I whispered. I finally heard myself. She whispered back. That evening, Mia lit a candle on the dining table and turned on her favorite jazz playlist, something we hadn't done in weeks. We sat across from each other, the kids in bed, the soft clink of forks and laughter slowly returning to the air. Our home felt ours again. But the next morning, a letter arrived in the mailbox. Handwritten. From her father. It wasn't angry. It wasn't kind either. It was cold. You've made your decision. I hope it brings you peace. Don't expect us to be part of it anymore. Mia sat with it for a long time. Then she folded it once, placed it in a drawer, and said, I'm not going to let that be the last word. I didn't ask what she meant. Not yet. Because I knew that whatever came next, she would face it as her own woman. And I would be right there beside her. A full month passed with no visits, no uninvited guests, no new key mysteriously left on a kitchen hook. No word from her parents. The silence, at first, felt like a bomb. Then it began to sting. I caught Mia staring at her phone often, thumb hovering, uncertain. Sometimes she paced the backyard at dusk, arms crossed, eyes scanning the sky like she was waiting for a sign. Once, I found her folding a tiny sweater her mother had knitted for Ravi, only to hide it away in a drawer again when she saw me watching. I didn't pressure her. I knew grief had many forms, and losing the comfort of lifelong patterns, even the unhealthy ones, was its own kind of mourning. But I also knew this: we had finally built a life with boundaries. And that was worth protecting. One evening, as we put the kids to bed, Asha asked, "When's Nanny coming to read to me again?" Mia froze. Then slowly, she sat down on the edge of the bed. "She might not come for a while, sweetie," she said, brushing a curl behind Asha's ear. "Why?" "Because sometimes grown-ups have to learn how to be better to each other. Even when they love each other very much." Asha nodded thoughtfully. "Like when Ravi bit me and said sorry after?" "Sort of," Mia said with a soft smile. After the kids fell asleep, she turned to me. "I want to respond to my father's letter." I nodded. "Then do it. But not to fight," she added. "To tell the truth. To end this the right way, without begging, without anger." That night, she sat at the dining table and wrote by hand. 1 page. No edits. I didn't read it until she offered it to me the next morning. "Dear Dad, you're right, I've made my decision. I chose my marriage. I chose a home where everyone, including you, is welcome, but only if they respect the rules of the door. This wasn't about turning my back on you or Mom. It was about reclaiming my voice. For too long, I confused obedience with love, control with care. I'm learning the difference now. If you decide to be part of our lives again, I'll open the door gladly. But this time you'll knock. This time you'll ask. This time you'll honor the space we live in, emotionally and physically. Because this isn't just about keys or kitchens or calendars. It's about agency. And I've found mine. Love. Mia." She folded it, placed it in an envelope, and walked it down to the mailbox herself. We didn't wait for a reply. Weeks turned to months. Ravi learned how to ride a bike. Asha lost her first tooth. Our Saturday mornings were quiet and slow. We danced in the kitchen again. Laughed over burnt pancakes. Played board games with no helpful commentary from the sidelines. One afternoon, just after Thanksgiving, a package arrived. No return address. Inside was a hand-knit sweater for Ravi, forest green, with a note pinned to the collar. "Made with love, if you'll still accept it." Mia cried. Not because it fixed everything, but because it meant someone had listened. Maybe only halfway, but even that was a beginning. She folded the sweater neatly and set it beside Ravi's bed. Then she turned to me and smiled. We never gave the key back. But we left a door open, a real one, with a working lock, and the expectation that if anyone wanted to enter our life again, they'd do it the right way. They'd knock. They'd wait. They'd ask. And on.